Okay, right? And that's pretty straightforward. Okay. The other thing we need to include with your associations is your multiplicities. So in this case, we know that every salesperson liaises with 0 or more clients. Okay, so it's possible for a salesperson to have no clients, right? But a client must have exactly one salesperson who is its liaison. Alright? Okay, so all of this you should be able to understand. Okay, this is a very quick refresher. We know that the multiplicity describes how many objects of a class A can be associated with objects of a class B and vice versa. Okay, so you can talk about one-to-one multiplicities. So right, we can talk about 1 to 0 or 1, right? It could be 1 to 1 or more, 1 to 0 or more, right? It could be many to many, it could be some value 3 to 5, okay, whatever. Okay, now the important thing about multiplicities is to know that they are okay. So first let me go through some examples. Okay, a country contains a capital, right? In this case, we are talking about a one-to-one association. So each country must have exactly one capital, and each capital belongs to exactly one country. Okay, so one-to-one, in many ways, it's like you are separating a single class into two different classes. Okay, why are we talking about popcorn? Okay, anyway, one-to-one association, right? You can have the one to many to many, right? In this case, one or more, to one or more. An author writes one or more books. If he hasn't written a single book, it's not considered an author. A book is written by one or more authors. A book cannot have 0 authors. Okay, so in this system, right, the multiplicity is actually very important in class diagrams, because what multiplicity um, describes is business rules, right? There is the only reason that we say that an author is not allowed to have to have 0 books is because my class diagram says so. It's because our system says that any author has to have exactly at least one book. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's the class diagram multiplicity, the multiplicity for associations is very powerful in that it can describe business rules. Are we alright so far? Yep. Okay. Right. Hopefully, you're not too distracted by the random noises from the goblins in the computer. Right. Hello, goblin. Right. Okay. Let me give you an example. Right. Drat. When apparently when I'm sharing the slides, it doesn't show the animations. Okay, so let's give an example. We have a husband and a wife. Okay, we see that husband marries exactly one wife, and a wife marries exactly one husband. Okay, so in this case, what happens um, is that we have a public class husband, right? We see from the class that he has a attribute name of type string, which is private. So private string name, private string job, private int age. Okay. Furthermore, it has a operation called setWife. Okay. In this case, setWife is returns void. Okay, and it takes as its parameter uh, an object of type wife. Okay. So in this case, what happens if okay wait I am oh okay, so what happens is that we have an operation that sets the my wife attribute of the husband object, okay, of the husband class, right, as the parameter w. Okay, and not only that, you will want to set it both ways, because if you notice, right, you're in the association, this is a single line with no arrowheads. It's the same as two directions. Guys, are you listening?
Yeah.
Okay, for those people who are uh playing around with it, this is something that you need to figure out. Okay, I'm currently on slide 16. Okay, so one thing you do have to take note is that in your when you're converting your class diagram into code, okay, generally we have something known as a reference attribute. Okay, in this case, this attribute, right, of type wife, okay, is referring to this association. The association marries. Okay, so if you want to put a role, essentially the role would be my wife. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So, in quizzes and common tests, if we give you a class diagram, right, like this with associations, obviously in order to code it, you have to create an attribute that corresponds to that association. We call this a reference attribute. Is that alright? A reference attribute is just an attribute that corresponds to an association. Any questions so far? Very straightforward, right? Okay. Uh, Later on when you want to find out whether a husband can have more than one wife, we will cover that. Trust me on this. Okay? So now, correspondingly, right, for the wife, you are going to have your public class wife, right? It has a private string name, private string maiden name, and to model to as reference to the association also has a my husband. Okay, so if I want to put a association role here, this is my husband. Is that alright? Yep. So in this case, we also have a set husband, right? We have a void set husband, and then it sets my husband to be H, right? To be the husband parameter, right? And then do H dot set wife this. Okay. Here's the question. What's the issue here? That's not the issue. Why wife has no age and job? It's just the way the system is modeled. Right. Question, right? If we just implement it this way, okay, take a look. I'm going to try to erase everything. Hold on. Okay, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, now take a look at this, and you take a look at this. Okay, if I just implement these two pieces of code, right? Is there any issue with it? Suppose I have created an object of type husband, right? Let's call it H, and then I've created an object of type wife, right? Let's call it W. Okay, let me actually write it down. Hold on. Okay, suppose I do husband H equals to new husband. Pardon the bad writing, and for some reason I am not able to write to the end of the. Okay, imagine there's a bracket at the end. Let me try that again. Sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties. Okay, suppose I have this code, right? Husband H equals to new husband. Okay, and I have wife W equals to new wife. Okay, and then I say H dot set wife W. Well, that's true. I can type. Okay, so given this code, Is there any issue? The possibility of other husbands setting the same wife? Maybe. But there's a more serious issue than this. Wife's husband is not set. Well, in this case, the wife's husband is set, right? Because if you take a look at this, when I do a set wife, right, I will also set the wife's husband. W dot set husband this. So tell you what, let's trace this, okay? So when I do h dot set wife, right, W, what will happen is that I will set the my wife attribute of the husband h. Yes, I think Jin has got it. Alright, so I will set the my wife attribute to be W. Then I say W please not set husband, right? Please set husband to myself. Then when I go back to set husband, you will set the husband to H, and then you set the wife again. Okay, so what you end up with is an infinite loop. Do you see? Yeah. Okay, this kind of errors is one of the things that you want to you want to take note of when you are doing your conversion from class diagram to sequence diagram. Okay. Okay. Who doesn't see this? There is an infinite loop. Okay, I repeat. When I first call set husband, right? When I first call set husband, I will set the when I first call set wife, I will set the my wife attribute to be W, then I call set husband. Then when I call set husband, I will set the husband attribute to H, and then I'll call set wife, which will call set husband, which will call set wife, and so on. This is going to be infinite loop. Okay? Yes, it will set each other infinitely. Now, if I did not mention this issue to you, right, and in a common test or something like that, we gave you this class diagram, and you are supposed to write down the code, okay, you might make this mistake. Okay, this kind of mistakes are very, very annoying because it compiles very well, right? It compiles. There's no syntax error or anything. Common test is week 9. Okay. Yes, it's a logic error. And what happens is that when you run, it's just going to go to an infinite loop, and there's no error message for you to find out. Okay, so please be very aware that I don't think the timetable is out yet. Can we focus, guys? Focus. Okay. Now, so how do we handle this? How do we handle this infinite loop? Actually, it's pretty straightforward. Okay. One way you can do is when I do my set wife, I just want to find out if my wife is not equals to W, then I do the set wife. Otherwise, it's already been set. Okay, you add it on the husband side, you can add it on the wife side as well. Is that okay? So far so good? Any issues? We're more than halfway done, by the way. Okay, shall I proceed? Okay, let me proceed. Now, to address the question, what if a husband can marry many wives? Okay, I did not put this one. Someone has been reading ahead. Okay, but what if a husband can marry many wives? Okay, so what happens is that we change it to an add wife rather than a set wife. Okay, because I can, I add, right? Okay, and so let's assume that I'm going to use a vector, and my vector is called my wives. Alright, so vector, think of it as the same as an array list. Okay, so now in my constructor, I'm going to set the my wife's variable to be a new vector. Okay, and when I add wife, it will be my wife's dot add w. Very straightforward, right? Okay. Of course, we have the same issue. We want to make sure that I'm not re-adding my own wife. Okay, so if it's not the case that my wife's contains w, then I'll add. Otherwise, I don't do anything. And that's pretty much it, right? That's how you would convert a class diagram, right, into code. Almost, right? That's the basics. Any issues so far? Okay, so when it comes to one-to-many, right, on the many side, you can use vector, you can use array list, you can use linked list, whatever you want. Okay, as long as it is some kind of collection class. Okay, all right, so let's continue. So the wife class, in this case, we have your set husband, and in this case, it will call add wife. Very simple. Yep. Okay, so we are on slide 22. Okay. Let's now talk about association classes. Do you all remember association classes, right? Okay. The rule for association classes is that you may only have an association class if it is a many-to-many association, right? If it is not many-to-many, it doesn't make sense. Okay. However, this doesn't mean that every many-to-many association needs an association class. Okay, is that clear? Right, I say again, if you want an association class, it must be a many-to-many association. But just because it's a many-to-many association doesn't mean that it must have an association class. Right? When do you use an association class? It's only if there's some data or some operation that you want to capture for an association. So in this case, we see that we have a customer that purchases many products. A product is purchased by many customers. Right? For a particular customer purchasing a particular product, we want to capture the invoice ID and the invoice date when the customer wants to purchase. So in this case, the association class makes sense. Are we clear? Okay. Now, so how do I convert this into code? Right. What happens is that think of an association class as if there is a link from the customer to the product, to the customer product, and the customer product to the product. Okay. Right. An association class essentially models a three-way association, an association between three different classes. Okay, so in this case, the customer product, right, which is the association class, right, will have an invoice ID and will have an invoice date. It will also have a reference to a customer called CUST in this case, and a product called PROD. Oh, we are missing someone. Who is missing? Who is missing? Is it Chung Chao? No, Chung Chao's here. Okay, let me see. Andre, Ashley. Who's Wei-Ming again? He keeps. There may be something. His connection may not be so good. Let me invite him. Thanks for the tip off. Okay, as I was saying, right? I'll just continue. I know I'm making a recording. I hope I know what to do with the recording later. Okay, so we have a association class, right? The association class itself will have references to both sides of the association. Okay, Wei-Ming, you're back. Okay. I have no idea. Wei-Ming, give some indication that you're alive. system down. His audio isn't working. As in, he can't hear me? Well, it's not much. There's not much point in doing this session if he can't hear my voice. You might as well just look at the slides. Okay, I guess we're actually almost done, so I'm just going to continue. All right, so possibly I will try to put up the recording, and then there will be a okay, then there will be a way for him to refer. Okay, all right. So once again, association class. We have this association class called customer product. Okay, and in order to write the code for customer product, right, we will it has its attributes, okay, and then it has its reference attributes, right, to both sides of the association. Okay. Similarly, for the class will have a CP list, right, a customer product list. So you notice that a customer will have multiple customer products. The product will also have multiple customer products. So it will need a customer product list. Does that make sense? Okay. And similarly for the product. And that's how you would reflect an association class. Simple? Simple? Okay, yep. Okay, there is a comment that says so much database stuff. Not really database, right? Essentially, we are talking about, there's a difference between a database and a class diagram. There is nothing that says that the data in the class will be stored in a database, right? This could be an association class that you use just to compute some value, and the computation is never stored in a database. So while they are related, right, a class diagram and a database, they are not one to one. Does that make sense? It's something that looks like a database but not a database. Okay, the difference between a class diagram and database is class diagram represents things that will be used by the program in real time, right? As in, when you're operating the program, those are the information that is inside the class diagram. A database is the information that is stored, right? Class is dynamics, database is static. That's pretty close. Yeah. Okay, that's a good way to explain it. Okay, all right. So that is association classes. Some people have too much time on their hands. Okay, so let's take a quick look at activity 2, shall we? Oops. I just realized that we are supposed to do activity 2. Okay, so for very quickly for activity 1 part 2, right? Okay. Okay, so for activity 1 part 2, are all of you able to do the drawing the class domain diagram? Because I think I skipped that one. I really hope all of you are learning the materials while you are playing around with this system. Good. Okay. So now, when we talk about the class domain diagram, right? Let me just show you how it works. Okay. If I want to do a class domain diagram, it's pretty straightforward. Okay. If I have, can you see the answer here? Is in the correct class domain diagram? Oh, I'm not showing the right one. Okay, hold on. Let me present programs. Okay, how about this? Okay, let me zoom in. Okay, so in this case, yes, it's draw a box and throw everything inside. It is that straightforward. Okay, so in this case, what happens is that you see I have a public class student, so I draw a box with student on top. We see that that name is a string and it's private, so you put the minus sign, call it name colon string. Age is protected, so it's a hex. Student ID is public, so it's a plus. And when there is no visibility defined in the code, that is by default package in Java. So you use a tilde. Okay. Finally, we have a public static string that is your class scope attribute, right? And you denote that by an underline. Right. The operation, which is called register module, takes in an takes in a parameter of type string called module ID, right? You can just put register module open bracket string, or you can put open string space module ID if you want to. Okay, so in UML, the name of the parameter is actually optional. Okay, but for completeness, you can put string module ID since it's given. Are we alright? Very straightforward, right? Okay, so now I would like you to please take a look at activity 2. This is the wrong file. Okay, so I'll give you all 5 minutes just to try this out. Okay, so you need to write out the code for 3 classes in this case: user, loan, and book.
Do they distract themselves?
They play around with the drawing tools and stuff. My wife's asking.
Fancy. Oh, no, 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 no.
Let me stop the recording here because this is going to be like empty air, right?